It's Ash from Super Videos back for another live dead talk. This is Q&A number 215 or episode 215, whichever you want to look at it. Since we're calling it now a live dead talk series, we might as well call it episode 215. But we'll just wait and see how many people join here. I did go live a little bit earlier than I said I will, but we'll just wait for more people to show up. Mario 3 is already on the chat. What's up? What do you think when do you think we're getting the finale on World Beyond? Glad you could join, Mario. In terms of when we'll see the finale, I don't think anyone knows. I don't think we're getting it in May. I think maybe in June. But that may be pushed back as well, depending on whether they'll be able to finish post-production by that time. World Beyond just comes after it. I think World Beyond is ready. It's just a matter of they want the finale of Season 10 to come first, and then back-to-back with that, they want the World Beyond premiere. But who knows when that's going to be? Like, there's no date. They haven't specified a date, obviously. Leo says, hi, how are you? Glad you could join, Leo. Giuseppe De Rosa, keep on naming the streams by number. I think it's cool. Yeah, we're going to keep numbering it. I think the numbering may be off by like 1 or 2, but it's fine. We'll just keep numbering it. But I should remember to keep calling these live dead talks because that's the name I came up with to change the live stream to like these ones. So we'll keep it live dead talks from now. Live dead talk 215. Mario, I saw you were sad because of Last of Us 2 leaks. I'm still waiting. Dying Light 2 amazing game. So I don't know what Dying Light 2 is. I haven't played. But yeah, Last of Us 2 leaks. On 2 separate occasions, 2 big things were spoiled for me. And I think that was like the biggest part of the leaks. So it's disappointing. It's weird because I'm not only and I don't want to get into the leak. Like, we're not going to talk about the leak. But I'm not only disappointed about it being leaked, obviously, because I was excited to play. I'm still going to play. It's just that knowing the leak, it's not going to be as, how should I put it, as exciting or interesting, let's say, as it would have been. And the second thing is they may have dropped the bomb, like the people writing the story. But I'm not going to get into the leak, like I said. But yeah, that's why I'm disappointed about that. But it's not that I was sad, it's just that it was disappointing, you know? That was the biggest thing. I was pissed off because it was spoiled for me, obviously. Leo, Maggie will be back with Georgie's group or Commonwealth? Neither. She is with Georgie's group, like she was there, but I don't think she's coming back with anyone from Georgie's group. I think she's coming back by herself. And Maggie's not connected to Commonwealth at all. Those are separate stories. Mario, if you haven't played Dying Light, is the game you want to try. Also, it is open world zombie game. I'll have to check it out. Dying Light. I'll have to check it out. Giuseppe, will Maggie ever die? That's a tough question. Before she left, if you asked me, I would have been like, maybe. But now, because she went away and came back, or is coming back, I find it hard to believe they're going to kill her off. Because, one, what does that do for the story? And two, they don't have many A-list characters remaining. So if they continue killing off the A-list characters that they have, it's not gonna be sustainable. Like, they can't continue that for much longer. Mario Dying Light 2 will be sequel, and it was said it will premiere sometime in 2020. But I hope due to all the problems, it'll be early 2021. I'll have to check it out. I haven't checked it out, but I don't know anything about it, and I don't even know who made it or whatever. But I bet it'll be postponed because if they said it's gonna come out in 2020, sometime 2020, meaning mid or later in 2020, then it's not going to be until later in 2021 that's going to come out. But again, I don't know the game. I don't know who made it. It's just based on how long other things have been pushed back. I made an educated guess there. Giuseppe, who are the five most important characters on The Walking Dead? In the show, I would say Rick, Michonne, most important. In terms of pushing the story towards or to where it is now, I would say Rick for sure, Michonne, who else? I want to say Negan, and these are not in particular orders, there's just any order, but Rick, Michonne, Negan. You could say Daryl and Maggie or Glenn, like one of the two. I would say Maggie probably, because of the Hilltop connection. Oh, and maybe Aaron. Maybe Aaron, if you think about it, because he was the one that found them, brought them to Alexandria. So he was a pretty important character as well, if you think about it. Mario game is made by Techland. I don't know them. Leo, Ash, what's your favorite character of The Walking Dead? In the show, I would say right now, Rick, then Michonne, Maggie, Daryl, Negan, Carol, and so on. The first two are the ones that are ordered, like Rick and then Michonne probably. These are the top two. But if you want to say that are in the show right now, I would say first Daryl, then Negan. But those tend to change. Goes back and forth. But right now, it's probably Daryl first and then Negan. Carol used to be there and then Negan, but with what she's been doing this season or what they've been doing with her this season, she went down. So Daryl is on top and then it's Negan right now. Giuseppe, if the Saviors never existed, how would it change the story? Well, if the Saviors didn't exist, the Hilltop wouldn't have a problem on their hands. And so because of that, maybe it would have probably taken a longer time for Rick's group to learn about learn about Kingdom and maybe the connectivity between the communities. So I would say in terms of the actual story, we would have just not seen All Out War. That would have been the biggest difference. And Carl wouldn't have died, and all the people that died during All Out War would still be alive, maybe, mostly. And what else would have been different? Yeah, I don't think there would have been too much difference there. We would still be where we are now, assuming the Whisperers would still be there. It's just a matter of we wouldn't see that chunk of story related to the Saviors. I don't think it would have changed too much in terms of the actual storyline. Like the high level story, it wouldn't have changed it too much. Leo Henry is dead and Judith will take the course of Carl. Yes, most likely. Most of Carl's story will go to Judith probably. Like 100% of it can't go to Judith, but most of it will, most likely. Some of Carl's story was already given to others. Like some of his story was given to Lydia, like a part of it. Part of it was given to Henry. Part of it was given to Daryl. Part of it was given to, I think, others, maybe Enid. So his story has been given to many people. But at this point, most of Carl's future story will probably be given to Judith. Or RJ, Rick Jr., one of the two. Most likely just Judith, though. Giuseppe, what if Negan was with the group in season 11? What if Negan was with the group in season 11? Like, what if he joined the communities? I would say that's a good question. Where would he be? Here's the thing. I don't think anyone would accept Negan as part of the community quite yet. So I think the part Negan would have in the story, or in the communities, I mean, if he was still around in season 11. Oh, season 1. I read that as season 11 for some reason. Thanks for putting it down again. Okay, so let's revisit that question. What if Negan was with the group in season 1? Okay, that's a better question. That makes sense. I would say he wouldn't be as dark. Like, if we go back to the Here's Negan story, we know a lot of the quirks that Negan has, he had before he joined the Saviors, or the Saviors became the Saviors. So he would still have all of those characteristics, but he wouldn't be as dark and as twisted as he is now. Of course, he did change, but there is still a part of him that's dark that he gained when he was Savior's leader. So I don't think he would have been as dark, and I think he would be more like, I think he would be a lot like someone like I don't know, let's say maybe Daryl. Maybe not quite as shy, maybe the opposite, but at the same time he wasn't a people person in a way. So I think there's some characteristics that he had that makes it seem like he would have been kind of like Daryl maybe a little bit. But he has some characteristics that made him like Merle a little bit, in terms of being short-tempered. So I think that the only thing that would have been too much, or would have been very different, would have been that he wouldn't be as dark as he is now. Leah, would you like if Andrea from the series had the direction that the comic book had? They've ruined Andrea's character in the TV show, obviously. I think they did the best they could with killing Andrea. They gave Andrea's story to Michonne, which at first I wasn't a fan of, but it slowly grew on me. So I think they did the best they could, and I think I prefer the Michonne Rick in the TV show to the Andrea Rick in the comics. But to answer your question, would I like it if they followed the comics with Andrea? It's tough to say, because we don't know how much they would have changed, how much they would have remixed. If they stuck with it 100% and they didn't change anything, then I would have preferred probably again, it's difficult to say, but probably the comics version. Only because from what we saw with Andrea, she wasn't as fleshed out as her comic counterpart up to the point where she was in. So if they wanted to really make Andrea Rick be better in the show, than the comics if they went that route. They would have had to make Andrea a better character. They would have had to improve her character a lot. So I would say I prefer the comic only because of that. Giuseppe, what if Shane never loved Lori? I mean, nothing would have been too different. It's just that Shane wouldn't be, there wouldn't have been that tension between Shane and Rick, mostly. And it would have ended up with Shane most likely not getting killed by Rick, which would have most likely meant that Shane would have been around for longer, which would mean that things would have been a little more, or there would have been a struggle for power, I would say. But that would have been the extent of it. I don't think that the story would have changed a lot. I would just say that there would have been more struggle for who gets power, Rick or Shane. Giuseppe, what if the governor and Negan switched places? I mean, you mean if Negan was leader of Woodbury and the governor was leader of Saviors? Is that what you mean? Well, I think you would just have the Negan story arc earlier and the governor story arc later. And maybe at that time, because the Negan story arc happens first and it's earlier on, he wouldn't be as dark. Maybe Simon would, or maybe they would still have their previous leader, the Saviors, and not Negan. And then the governor would have been more brutal and more twisted because he would have lived longer. I don't think he would have, I think it's difficult to say because it's just their story would have been flipped. Giuseppe, what if Shane was a savior? Then he would have been a pretty good savior, I would say. I think he would become kind of like Simon. He wouldn't just be any savior. He would have to be a right-hand man. Like, he had that ego. He had that kind of alpha mentality. So he would butt heads with Negan, for sure. And before he even butt heads with him, he would try to become his second in command, first and foremost. Just like Michonne, like what we saw with the alternate universe. It would have been the same thing. In the alternate universe, Michonne was Negan's right-hand gal, right? So I think with Shane, it would have been kind of the same sort of scenario. Giuseppe, what if Morales never left? He was soft back then, so I don't think he would have survived for a long time. What if, and Giuseppe asks, what if Carl never existed? Then it would have been kind of really different, I would say. Rick wouldn't have the motivation to find his family if he had no other kids. He would still want to find Lori, but having like a kid, I think it changed the equation for him a little bit, or the story for him a little bit. So it would have been different in that regard. If Carl wasn't around, the Negan story arc would most likely be a lot different in the show. And they could still follow the comics, but if they were where they are in the show. Also, I would say, yeah, these are the biggest two things. The two biggest, I mean. Giuseppe, what if Ash was Rick Grimes? You don't know I'm not. You don't know that I'm not Rick Grimes. Maybe I am Rick Grimes. Maybe I'm going to play Rick Grimes in the movies. You never know. Giuseppe De Rosa, what if Carol never showed up to Terminus? They would all be dead. No question about it. Like, Rick would probably have fought back because he was ready to, but they wouldn't stand a chance. They would be dead, all of them. All of the people that were trapped or that were kneeling down, and then the people in the box carts, box cars, not, I don't know why I said carts, box cars would probably have been next in line to get killed. Leo, who's better, Rick from the comics or Rick from the TV show? That's a tough question. I would say I love Andrew Lincoln's Rick, but there's parts of Rick in the comics that I really love to watch. Even going back and reading old Rick or reading stories from old Rick, I'm like, I miss Rick in the comics. So I prefer Andrew Lincoln's Rick because he plays it well. He brings that character to life in a way that grips you. But as far as how good the character is, I would say the comics is a little better. Rick in the comics, I mean. Giuseppe, what if T-Dog ended up with Maggie instead of Glenn? I mean, then T-Dog would become our Glenn. King Ken 214 says hi. Glad you could join, King Ken. Giuseppe, what if T-Dog was in season 10? I think he would be a lot like someone like Jerry. He would be there, he would kind of be a big character, but he would just be around. Or not Jerry. Jerry's not a good comparison. He would be kind of like, who should I say? That's a difficult one. Yeah, I don't know who he would be like, but he would just not be as big of a character. Still, I think he would be just a background character, but big enough for him to have some sort of a role in the story. King Ken, Michonne comic or TV show? I think I know what you're gonna say. Michonne in the, I would say up to the point where, up to All Out War, Michonne in the Michonne in the comics. I think not Danai Gurira as Michonne is great. I love Danai Gurira as Michonne and what she's done, but the stories for Michonne in the comics are just a lot better than the TV show version. Giuseppe, what if The Walking Dead wasn't a comic book? It was a novel instead. Honestly, I don't think it would have been as big. But there's a lot of things in the comics that worked because it was in the comics, in my opinion. Giuseppe, what if Merle survived? If Merle survived, he would be he would change, I think. He would change for the better. He would become loyal to Rick, and he would be one of his top commanders, or one of his right-hand men. And he would be very close to Daryl, obviously, and he would be kind of like an Abraham for Rick before Abraham died. King Ken, show, Negan, or comic? Negan in the comic only because he was able to be his true self. In the show, obviously the censorship and all of that, it didn't help. Jeffrey Dean Morgan's Negan would have knocked it out of the park, though, if he was able to do what he was able to, or what he should have done to bring that Negan to life. But because he wasn't able to do it, I say the Negan from the comics. Giuseppe, what if Jim was alive in season 10? He would be a background character, kind of like Scott from Alexandria. Jim was the person that died by the tree, right? If I remember right. If I didn't get that right, let me know. What if Sophia survived, Giuseppe? What if Sophia survived? Carol wouldn't be as hardened as a character as she's today. If Sophia survived, Carol would have been a lot less badass. I think the thing that changed Carol or made Carol into who she is now is Sophia's death. She would have definitely been softer. Giuseppe Abraham versus Merle. One-on-one fight, I would say Merle only because of the arm. That would be his advantage. If he didn't have the arm, Abraham. Leah, what if Alpha didn't kill Enid, Tara, and Henry? Like, if others were in the lineup instead, I don't think it would have changed things too much. The audience wouldn't have been, or it would be less emotional, obviously. And it would have been like less impactful, but the survivors would still have to follow their orders, the Whisperer's orders, and then go to war with them afterwards. It would have been the same kind of thing. Giuseppe, which character would make the best general? Best general, I think... It's a good question. As great as Rick was, he wasn't the greatest leader. He was a good leader. He made things happen, but he made a lot of mistakes along the way as well. So I would say best general would be... I want to say... That's a tough one. I would say Abraham, because he was in the military. He has the experience to be in that kind of role. Who else? Yeah, I think Abraham would be a good general. King Can Whisper War show or comic. The comic was underwhelming, but the show was maybe as underwhelming or a little bit more underwhelming. So I would say the comic. It wasn't the best, but the TV show wasn't able to even top it. The lead up to the war, the comics, as good as it was, the TV show was fantastic. What they did in the show. But the actual Whisper War, I would say the comics did it better, even though it wasn't the best either. King Can just remembered the black woman who died at the CDC. Or y'all remember. Yeah, I remember her. Jackie was her name? I don't remember her name. Giuseppe. I'll go with your gut feeling. You think it's Jackie? I'll go with that. King Can, what if she was alive? She would have been another background character. If they didn't develop her character. Like at that time, a lot of those characters could have been developed. So if she developed into a bigger character, she could end up being someone like... no, she wasn't shown to be a strong fighter either. So I would say she would have been just a background character. But maybe if they made her more interesting and if she was able to fight well, she could become someone like Carol or Michonne or maybe not Andrea, but Maggie, some strong person, strong woman in the apocalypse. King Ken, what was Rick's biggest mistake? Killing saviors in their sleep. Or ordering that, I mean. And another one, I would say... trying to take over Alexandria when he first got there. Like, his plan. I think a lot of the bloodshed, a lot of the conflict wouldn't have come up if he if he didn't try to, like, if he wasn't power hungry. I feel like at that time Rick was a little power hungry, just a little tiny bit. Giuseppe, what was Rick's biggest weakness? Rick's biggest weakness was he would jump into conflict way too easily without assessing the situation. King Ken, which death was the saddest? Herschel's one is up there. Glenn's one is up there. Those two. Giuseppe De Rosa, Whisper War wasn't even a war. I agree with that, yes. Leo, maybe Jackie's still alive. What do you think? Nah, she's dead. The CDC blew up, so there was no dumpsters around. Let's just say that. Giuseppe, will we see any more wars? In the comics, we saw a mini war after the Whisper War, so maybe that. But other than that, if they continue on after the comics, then at some point I'm sure we will. I mean, war is always going to be a part of The Walking Dead. You can't ever escape it. It's still going to be a war, but the scale is just going to keep getting bigger. Like, first, it was a war with the governor's people. Maybe 50 people on each side. 50 soldiers, I mean. Or maybe 100 soldiers. Not even 100. 50 people. 50 soldiers on each side. Barely. Then it was Negan and the Saviors. So, like 200 versus like maybe 70, 80 people. So the scale is much bigger. And then we have the Whisper War, where we have like maybe around like 100 or 120 some survivors as soldiers fighting against Whisperers. In terms of numbers, Whisperers without the herd, maybe they have maybe a couple hundred, maybe 200, 300 people. So maybe less than that, maybe around 200 to 300 people. So the scale keeps getting bigger. So if they have the war that comes up after this, the scale is just going to keep getting bigger, right? So I think that's going to be the only difference, but we're always going to see a war at some point. Giuseppe, will we see more snow again? I don't think so. I think the only reason is because it's expensive for them. It's cost heavy. And they would rather, and I agree with it, they would rather, or AMC would rather spend that money somewhere else. Or maybe the writer, or not writers, but the producers and the showrunners would rather spend the budget that they have on something other than snow. Like they did it once because it was different, it felt cool. It was awesome the first time. But I think just because you did it once, it's fine. You did it, it's great, but it's not something that you want to keep doing. Unless you know that it's not going to take budget away from something that's going to be even cooler and more interesting. No pun intended for the cooler part. Giuseppe, I would be okay if they kill Carol in season 11. Me too. At this point, me too. Giuseppe, what if Rick could see into the future? He wouldn't make some of the decisions he made. He wouldn't kill the saviors in their sleep. He wouldn't agree to help Jesus. Those are the or Jesus in this. I mean Hilltop. Those would have been the different things that we would have seen. Giuseppe, Rick's most badass season, season 4. Season 4 all the way. Season 4 / season 5's first half. Like the latter end of season 4, the earlier half of season 5. Those were his golden days. Like when Rick was the most savage. King Ken, I think they should have went to the CDC. They did, but they blew it up. Giuseppe, would you consider the governor a war? I would consider that a war. Yeah, it was a battle, not a war, but I still consider it like a war, a small scale war. King Ken, I mean Washington D.C. Oh, they should have went to D.C., not CDC. Okay. Um, yes and no. Yes, because you want to see what's remaining from the government part, obviously. But no, because it's a big city. Big city, a lot of people, big herd, a lot of trouble, not good. It's not worth it to go, let's just say that. And yeah, at this point, it would have, or the herd would have been spread out, but still. Leo, Ash, do you miss Jesus, Tara, Enid, or Henry? Jesus, yes and no. Parts of his story, like him being a badass fighter, yes, but no, and or nothing other than that. Tara, not really. I mean, I didn't like the character initially, but then she grew on me, and I didn't mind her. But she didn't do too. She didn't do a lot. She didn't do a lot of interesting stuff. Let's just say that. So I don't miss her that much. Enid, no. Henry, not really. Giuseppe, what if Ash was the biggest Walking Dead YouTuber with 2 million subs? Then that would have been great. King Ken, the best idea that Fear had was the storm. It went bad, but they should try it on The Walking Dead. Yeah, the Fear the Walking Dead storm was awesome. I agree. It was different. It was awesome. They didn't utilize it too great or too well. They could have done more with it, but I did love the idea. And I do agree they should do something like that on the show, on the original Mothership show. They did try it, I would say. If you go back, watch one of the episodes in season 5, I think, where they were stuck in the barn. They did like a storm in that episode, right? So they kind of did it, but it was off screen in a way. Giuseppe, is Heath ever coming back? To the show, no. To the movie, probably, most likely. Mario, could you imagine CRM not being bad and all those trailers that talk them being not good people is actually quite the opposite? All of the breadcrumbs that they've left leads us to think that they are bad people. If they're not, then they just fooled fans in a way that's more irritating than exciting and interesting and awesome. And I think they would lose some respect from fans if they do that. And it wouldn't make for a good movie. Like in a good movie, you need a good villain. You need a good bad guy. If they're not the bad guy, then there needs to be someone in the movies. Maybe they go to war with someone. But I think they are the bad people, to be honest. Mario, what if they just preparing for what comes after and that's what they are secretive until they reestablish everything? Let me read that again. What if they're just preparing for what comes after and that's why they are secretive until they reestablish everything? It's not the secrecy. I get your question, but I don't think it's the secrecy that makes them bad. I don't think it's their secrecy that makes us think that they're bad. That's one of them. The other reasons is because they, how would I put it? If they were good people, they wouldn't trade humans. That's the big one. Trading humans. If they just negotiate, like try to get them on board, that's different. They are taking them hostage in a way. They are capturing them. They are capturing human subjects for whatever reason. So that means that they're not good people. I'm just saying. Giuseppe, what if the group never found Alexandria and found the saviors instead? Ooh, that's a good question. That's actually a good question. They wouldn't. It's kind of like with Negan and the Whisperers right now. Same thing. They wouldn't agree with their philosophy, and if threatened by them, they would try to fight back, but they wouldn't ever join them. Like, they wouldn't ever join up with them. But if they see like they have resources that they can use, they would go to war with them to get those resources. And I know when they joined Alexandria, there were like maybe 10 people only. At that time, they would just run with their tail behind their legs. They would not agree with them to join them, like I said, but they wouldn't necessarily want to go to war with them because that's a suicide mission. Or that would have been. Giuseppe, what if The Walking Dead made a what if show and brought all the cast back? I wouldn't be interested in that, honestly, because it doesn't do anything. Like, what's the point of it? As like a what do you call it? Yeah, like it wouldn't serve the story. Like, you couldn't explain it, so it wouldn't make sense. It would be something that's like unrealistic. It wouldn't make sense. It wouldn't work for the story. It wouldn't do anything for the story. Giuseppe Kincan, I said he wants to deal with those people himself. What people? Oh, some message was deleted? I mean, if it's a spoiler, then yeah, obviously you can delete it. And I don't want to view because I don't know if it's a spoiler or what it is, but if it's people being disrespectful towards others, you can put them on timeout. But if it's anything other than that, yeah, I can deal with that myself. Giuseppe, we only take care of spoilers and bullying. Yeah, absolutely, Giuseppe. Giuseppe, about anyone who talks about Ash or bad about Ash wants to deal with them personally. Yeah, I mean, if it's something about me, you can just leave it on and I'll deal with it. Leo, why Tyrese from the comics and Tyrese from the TV show were different? The writers just didn't know what they were doing. The comic Tyrese was great. They ruined his character in the show. For God knows what reason. Mario, maybe Rick chose greater good than his family, but I doubt that. Yeah, I don't think you would do that. Not unless there was a consequence to it. Like, I could see it. I could definitely see something like the CRM threatening Rick, saying, if you go back, if you do anything, we'll kill your family and your friends and destroy your community, the communities you are from. I could see that. That would make Rick second guess his decision and change his decision, not want to go back, because he loves his family and friends and he wants his communities to grow. He wants it to exist. So I could see that for sure. But if they give him a chance, a choice, saying you help us for some bigger purpose or you go back to your family, I don't think he would stick around. He would be like, I appreciate and I respect what you're doing, but I gotta go with my family. Gotta go to my family. if everyone from my family and my friends and all of them can come to this community to work towards this goal that you have, let's go for it. But other than that, I gotta bounce. That's what he would have probably said if given the choice. Giuseppe, yeah, that person didn't write a spoiler. Okay, so I'll deal with those myself then. Giuseppe just asked a stupid question. Let me deal with stupid questions. Mario, I think CRM is just a lot more powerful than Rick. That's why he hasn't returned. Yeah, and that goes back to what I said. They would have had to threaten him in order for him not to come back and stick around where he is. He can't, I think you mean he can't. He can't defeat them, so he has to join them. I think there's some truth to that. Yes, absolutely. And it's not just like if they didn't know about where he was from, he could just leave. He could run away. Even if it means him dying, if he was unsuccessful, he would take that chance. But there's a risk to it. They not only would kill him, but they know where he's from, so they would go back to his community, slaughter everyone. If they're truly bad people, as bad as they come across. Giuseppe, is Rick the god of the Walking Dead? I wouldn't say so, no. Alright, we've been going for 50 minutes. So we'll go for another maybe 10 minutes to get to that hour mark, and then we'll end the stream. So rapid fire Q&A at this point, 10 more minutes. Giuseppe, what's the most people that what's the most people we've had on these streams? I think 10. 10 is the max that we've had. Mario, that's lose end both ways. Alexandria, I think that's the reason. Or that's the thing. Yeah, like the thing is, if Rick leaves and runs away, it's a lose-lose situation. Like, if he's successful in returning, he's screwed. They're just going to come back and kill everyone. Because they know where he's from. If he comes back and he's killed before getting back, if his plan is unsuccessful, it's a lose-lose. He dies, they go to his community and slaughter everyone. If he doesn't go back, it's a win-lose in a way. Because his conscience is, like, in his conscience he knows that it's, or in his conscience he knows it's the right decision, but he's losing because he can't go back to his family. He's losing a piece of who he is. But his community is winning. The people that he loves are winning because they're not dying. So I think he's choosing the win-lose rather than all of the other lose-lose situations. If he had like a big army, then it would be more realistic. He would be like, okay, I'll come back. If I can make it back, we can take the group, go there, destroy the CRM, and be done with it. But obviously he doesn't have a large army. So it's not going to work. Giuseppe, have you ever gotten trolls on your videos? Yeah, in the comment section on streams, we've seen a lot of trolls who just show up to be trolls. Giuseppe, what's your most popular video? I have no idea. We can check. I have my video manager here. I'm going to sort it by views. Oh no, that's not what I want. There we go. That's what I want. I want to filter this. Not filter, I mean sort it. The video I did with the Whispers and Alpha, the all Alpha and Whispers barn massacre scene plus city PTSD scenes. The one where I put all of those scenes together. That's the one that has the most views, 172K. Next to that is my Negan introduction show versus comic comparison. That's number 2 at 60K. And then there's a bunch from season 7 and 8 after that, like our breakdowns and things like that. The Rick Grimes fan made teaser that I made is number like 5, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Number 7 at 15K. So that's the newest, I think, that's up there, other than the first one. That was pretty recent. But yeah. Sorry, I lost track of that. Let's get back to the chat questions. I'm just trying to get back to my video manager screen. Something happened. It's all blank. I hope I didn't do anything stupid like delete the videos or anything. Alright, there we go. It's back. Did the camera stop? What happened with the camera? Okay, there we go. It wasn't frozen. I was just staring at the other screen. Where was I? Oh, Mario. There's probably rogue side of people in CRM like any other movie. Some people are probably bad and he will be trying to expose them somehow. Yeah, I'm sure that's going to be the biggest plot or the main plot of the story, for sure. Like, there's no other way. That's probably what it is. Giuseppe, what if Rick destroyed the CRM? He probably will in the third movie. He would probably try to gather people to... Or he would probably have people follow him, get a fan base in a way, or get some people loyal enough to him to follow him and people who would die for him, for that cause, to go against CRM leaders, and they would do that, expose it, destroy them, and that would be the end of the movies, most likely. Giuseppe, what if Rick destroyed... Oh, I just read that one. Mario, I just don't understand the fact if CRM is the secretive, why are they allied with other communities? I don't think they are, they are allied in a way with... Yeah, I see what you mean. They are allied with the, what was it called? Omaha Colony, and probably one more, the Portland one. I agree, but then again, they control over them. They're not necessarily allies with them, they control over them. They rule them. They are like the kings, in a way. I don't think they're necessarily allied with a group or working with a group. They're just ruling over maybe large groups. If they are working with other groups, I do agree it's a gap, because if they're as secretive as they are, it doesn't match. Mario, there are big loose ends if someone speaks up. Yeah, loose ends. Yeah, there's loose ends. Yeah, absolutely. Giuseppe, do you make money on YouTube? Yes, but not that much. Way less than you think. Giuseppe, what if Rick went all Rambo on the CRM? He could, but if it's realistic, he wouldn't be successful. He would die. Unless he's Carol. I'm just kidding. Animated Alex, sorry I'm late. No worries, man. We're almost done, but thank you for joining. Giuseppe, what if Chris Hemsworth played as Rick Grimes or Rock Grimes? I know you mean Rick Grimes, but Chris Hemsworth. I don't see it. I honestly don't see it. He would kill it in the action sequences for sure, but that's pretty much it. Animated Alex, how is the CRM secretive? There's a huge community. Yes, but they're secretive because of what Isabel told Althea. They destroy documents, they burn bodies, they are secretive about people that they're taking out and why they're taking them out. They don't want to leave any traces. That's why they're secretive. Giuseppe, what if Robert Downey Jr. played as Negan? That would be ridiculous, I think. I can't see him as Negan. Animated Alex, yeah, imagine Rick went commando on the CRM. Again, he could, but if it's realistic, it wouldn't work. And let's be honest, The Walking Dead, as comic booky as it is, you can say, and obviously because we have zombies, it's still a lot more realistic than Rambo. And that's Hollywood for you. Like Hollywood and those type of movies, they're just made for, or they just make one guy kill like 20 people. You know what I mean? Giuseppe De Rosa, you see Rick get 10,000 kills? Yeah. If they're being really Hollywood with it, for sure. Mario, Rick probably got a lot of friends over those 6 years. It's hard to let that go also. That's another part of it. That's a good point. That's another part of it. But earlier on, I was talking about, like earlier on, it would be just because he would be threatened that would stop him from leaving. But then after a while, maybe it's his loyalties and his friends and maybe his family that's at CRM that's keeping him there. Who knows? Animated Alex or Rick Grimes Warfare? Yeah. Giuseppe, apparently there's a theory saying the zombie apocalypse started by aliens. It's not a theory. It's just, there's two things. Robert Kirkman marketed the comics, the Walking Dead comics, as an alien story. That was one. It was obviously a lie, he said. Or he lied to get that picked up because they didn't want to pick up a zombie show or a zombie story. But the second part of it, he joked around and said that's how it started with aliens, but he was kidding. All right, so maybe 2 more minutes and then that'll be the end of the stream. I want to get through these questions and then we'll end it. Giuseppe Kirkman said something about that. We covered that. Giuseppe, that would actually be cool. I don't think so. I think it's more grounded and it's more real the way it is. Giuseppe, what if Rick had his own video game? That would be awesome. Depends which timeline it's in, but that would be awesome. Animated Alex, I hope Rick grows a man bush. He probably will be clean shaven in the movie because luxury. Mario, there is no way Rick would have beat CRM. They are hand-to-hand combat experts, assault rifle, sniper experts. I bet you most CRM soldiers were military pre-apocalypse. I could see that for sure. And I agree with that, I think. Giuseppe, what if Rick loved Maggie? LOL. Nah, that wouldn't happen. He wouldn't do that to Glenn. Animated Alex, do you think Rick gets interviewed like Diane interviewed Rick? At the CRM, they could do that, but I mean, they could do that. That would be cool, but it doesn't do anything. Like, it's not really an Easter egg either anymore. It is an Easter egg, but it's not a cool thing anymore, or not as cool because they did it with Negan. They brought that back around. So they've already done it once. They've already brought that back. So to keep bringing that moment back, it's just repetitive a little bit. And I think that was Deanna. Deanna, yeah, not Diane. Deanna, that was her name. And you did write Deanna. I don't know why I read Diane. Anyway, um, Giuseppe, what if they made a alien apocalypse show? They could make one. We will never know how good it is until someone makes it. Or maybe littering, lol. Um, any more questions? I'm just trying to find the good questions to end the stream on. Giuseppe, will you be playing the Walking Dead game again? We'll have to see. I mean, there's a couple things that makes it complicated to keep playing or bring that back. One is the progress on the game. I haven't checked to see if the progress is there or how I'm going to bring that back. That's one. The connection with gameplays, even if it's not a stream, you saw with the Last of Us gameplay that I did. It's just really slow. And I know we set the Ethernet connection and all of that would fix it, but the thing is, in the room I can't get Ethernet connection. And the PlayStation where the TV is, that's also far from the router. So I can't get an Ethernet connection that way either. So it's difficult to get a wired connection to one of the devices. So there's going to be lots of lag and it's unplayable, to be honest. And I don't think anyone's going to really enjoy watching it. So those are the two roadblocks in bringing those back or bringing gameplays back on the channel. But in the future, if it's something that a lot of people are interested in, then, and I don't mean just for the Walking Dead game, but for Last of Us 2 and all of that. Like, I'm going to play Last of Us 2, but I'm probably not going to game it or stream it because of the reasons I just talked about. But if there's enough people interested, we might be, or I might be, not might be, but I'll have to figure out how to get the wiring and get get everything set up, because it's not as simple as just getting a wire. You know, I have to get through the walls and all of that. Like, I have to hire electricians and people to come in and get it all done. So we'll only do that if enough people are interested. All right, so let me see. Giuseppe, what if Rick loved Carol? It's kind of like the thing with Daryl and Michonne. Why didn't Daryl ever go after Michonne? It's the same kind of thing. That would never happen. Animated Alex, what if Rick loved Aaron? Now we're just getting to the random question section. All right, so 2 more questions, and then we'll end it. Mario, if you ask me, since probably a lot of people are government officials, they're pre-apocalypse, that's probably military that survived, honestly. Yeah, there could be some actual officials, like government officials at the CRM. That could happen. Mario, I just hope they will elaborate well in the world beyond and movies. I'm assuming they will. Most likely the movie for sure. See, the world beyond, maybe they'll touch the surface, but they won't dive in it that much. But in the movie, for sure they will. Giuseppe, make a poll for the game. Well, even if we can get it set up, like, not set up, but even if people vote for it, in these situations, we can't get it fixed, right? So let's wait. Let's put a pause on it until things go back to normalcy, and then at that time we'll put a poll, we'll see how many people are interested, and we'll get it going. But for The Last of Us 2 that's coming in June, first, I don't even think I'm going to be able to get it. That's the first thing, because I can't download it. My PS4 doesn't have that much storage in it, so that's one thing. So it's going to be a problem even getting my hands on the game. That's one thing. And then I wouldn't have been able to fix the issue with the connection, with the wiring, until that point. So even if I do have the game in hand, I can't stream it, or I can't post a video on it. So can't happen for Last of Us 2, but for the Walking Dead game, maybe. But then again, if I don't get my hands on Last of Us 2 in time, then I'm probably not going to play it since I know the spoilers already. It doesn't matter. So I can wait until later in the year, or next year maybe, to get my hands on the game, get the wiring connections and all that set up, and then do a gameplay of that. Mario Dying Light for the next game. Yeah, I'll check that out. I'll check what it is. But yeah, we might put a poll which game to do when we get to that point when I'm able to do a gameplay. But that's probably later next year, if I'm completely honest with you. If we want to put a quality, like if we want to make it be a quality video, like I don't want to just put a random video out where it's unwatchable. You know what I mean? So if we're gonna do it right, we're gonna have to wait until like later next year probably. But that's pretty much it for this stream. We've been going for an hour and about 10 minutes. So that'll be the end of the stream. Thanks everyone for joining and asking questions. I hope you guys enjoyed this. And yeah, if you haven't followed me on Twitter and Instagram, links are on the top. Make sure to do so. I'll start posting more on Instagram. I've just been waiting to get a little more people following and things like that. But make sure to go add me there. If you are on Facebook instead, go add me on Facebook. The activity on Facebook is not that much, but I'm more active on Twitter and I'll become more active on Insta. But other than that, if you have not subscribed to the channel, which I think that's unlikely because if you're here and watching, you're probably a subscriber. But if you're not, make sure to subscribe if you enjoy the content and join our community. And that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed. I'll see you next time.